It's always an honor to speak to a pair of our dear friends, Tony DiNatale and Frank Peters, both representing the Richmond County American Legion. Good morning, folks. Great to see you. How are you?
Good morning, Jamie. We're doing great. Thank you. Thank you for coming out today. Great to be here with my fellow Legionnaires and getting ready to take a ride on the 10 o'clock Staten Island Ferry to Manhattan. On the rebound, we're going to throw a wreath off the statue, as we do every year, to commemorate to sort of our way to memorialize our feelings about the tragic events on December 7th, 1941, the bombing of Pearl Harbor.
It's amazing. 78 years it's now been since the bombing and the attacks took place. Why is it important for the young generation to know about what happened?
Well, Jamie, just the 78 years it's a number like anything else, but when you look at it, the entire picture, how many people are going to be left from that generation in 10 years to remember it? As we speak at Pearl Harbor today on the Arizona Memorial, Lawrence Bruner, the next to last survivor to get off the Arizona that day, his ashes will be entombed in the monument underwater. There's only two other veterans from the Arizona that are alive. They're going to be buried with their families. And the other ship that's at the bottom of Pearl Harbor, the Utah, there's only three members left from that. The actual number of veterans, we don't know how many there are left in the country today, but it's up to us to teach our young children to keep the, if you want to call it a legacy, because it is. It's as sad as it is. It's part of American history, and the way things are being changed, that all the history is being taken out of our country. This is something that we have to keep alive. We owe it to that generation, to those men and women that died that day.
So tell us about the ceremony that's going to be taking place aboard the ferry.
The ferry's what is this, the 15th year, Frank? Something?
No, it's more than 20 years, isn't it?
It's more than 20 years that they're doing it. As we take the 10 o'clock boat over, we catch the 10:30 boat back. The time, I think, of the attack was 11:02, New York time. So we're going to be very close to the time that the attack took place at Pearl Harbor, when we placed that wreath. The ferry, the people at the Department of Transportation in New York, the ferry people, they get us as close as they can to the monument, to the Statue of Liberty, and it's our way of paying tribute, because we toss a wreath in the sea. Why do we do that? For those, I guess, when you think about it, all those buried at sea, because when the time comes, the sea will give up its dead to join, the Lord in heaven.
I think we've been doing this for about 22 years now. Started way back when I was working for the Staten Island Ferry, and they've been very gracious to us to accommodate the American Legion of Richmond County as we remember those who died on December 7th. And it's a great experience for those who ride the ferry to actually observe what's taking place. And, for doing it for 22 years, like Tony said, we take the 10:30 boat out of Manhattan. We get as close to the statue as we can. The captain slows the boat down. We throw a wreath in the memory of those who died on December 7th. And then we proceed back to Staten Island. We conclude our ceremony on the ferry boat. So, you think about December 7th, 1941 was a tragic event that drew us into World War II. And the American Legion is a World War I veteran organization, but it was that event that drew us into a Second World War that America really started to appreciate its veterans. Before then, veterans weren't considered anyone special, really. But the legislative process that had been taking place in the decades before World War II the American Legion was able to take its legislative initiatives. There was great sympathy for the veterans and a great outpouring of love for all that the veterans did after World War II for this country, that the legislative process began to create the first GI Bill. And the American Legion was at the forefront of that, along with the VFW and the Disabled American Veterans and the Jewish War veterans. And, it's just been great legislative processes for the veterans ever since World War II. So you look back at December 7th and you see that it was a tragic event. It drew us into a war. You look at the amazing loss of life that was suffered over 3.5 years of wartime, culminating in D-Day on June 6th, 1944. We can never forget the sacrifices that those men, those young men, teenagers, did for us to secure our liberties and our freedoms in this country, and it's very important that we never, ever forget those who died in defending our liberties. And it all started on December 7th, 1941.
We have... Go right ahead.
I'd like to bring in Mary LaManna, the 2nd District Commander for the American Legion. Mary was a field nurse in Vietnam, lieutenant, and just to honor the females who are serving, who have served and are still serving today in bigger roles. I'm going to step aside and let Mary come in.
It has now been 75 years since D-Day, and 78 years to the day since Pearl Harbor. Why do you feel it's important for the younger generation to continue to learn about that day?
Well, the most important thing is to remember all those who died on December 7th, 1941, to remember their sacrifices, and they were Navy, Army, Marines, civilians. Over 2,000 people died that day, and it was really the beginning of World War II. And my father was in World War II. Many of the Legionnaires here, our parents were in World War II. So we grew up learning about, I know in my time in school we did actually learn history and geography, and I remember learning about Pearl Harbor, and being a retired nurse, I thought about the nurses who were caring for all the wounded that day, and how that day started. But the children have to know our history. We're going to be gone someday. They have to know we're here because what people did before us, and we should always show that respect for them. And unfortunately, we're still at war. And like they say, World War II was supposed to be the war that ended all wars. As we well know, it did not. But it's so important to show respect for our men and women who have served in the military, who serve in the military today, and surely those who will enter the military, because what they do allows us to do what we do. So it's just a matter of respecting those who came before us. And we're honored here today to come. We come every year, and we have a ceremony. And like I say, we remember those who perished that day, December 7th, 1941.
There are still a few World War II veterans living here on Staten Island, and they make their way to a lot of the events that take place here, and there are still a few veterans from World War II on scattered across the country.
Yes.
What is it like for the two of you to interact with them?
I'm humbled to interact with them. I love to listen to their stories. Years ago, I was in the Staten Island Women's Legion post, and all women, of course, and the majority of the women were World War II veterans. Several were nurses, some were map reading instructors. Estelle Moore, one of my mentors over the years. One of the ladies was a big truck driver, and I would love to listen to their stories about what they did in the war. There was one woman, unfortunately most of the ladies are gone now, but this one lady, she was an Army nurse in World War II, and I was an Army nurse in Vietnam, so we compared how nursing was different in the different wars. And it was different in many ways, but it was similar because we were there to care for the troops. So for me, I was in awe when I would listen to these women talk about their experience, and people do forget that women were there from day one. Women have always served in the military. Even in the Revolutionary War, they dressed up as men because they wanted to serve, sometimes just to be next to their husbands to help support them. But women served then. They're surely serving now in many, many different capacities. And I believe we do have a young lady here with us. She's in the Coast Guard, one of our members from Gold Star Post. So when I see the women vets doing their thing today, I'm very, very proud, and I'm glad I came before them and did my thing, and again, so that they can do their thing.
Yeah,
How does it make you feel?
It's great. My grandfather was a World War II veteran. Mary's father was a World War II veteran. I grew up basically in an American Legion post in Travis. It was a great community to grow up in. We always had the very big presence in the American Legion. We had our carnivals in the summertime. The 40 and 8 would come by with the locomotive. We would ride as children. And all those men, that if I think back now to my childhood, they were all World War II veterans. And what a great bunch of guys that had a great core values that they brought to the community. And even when I became eligible to join the American Legion, I'm a veteran of Lebanon and Grenada, just the conflict right after Vietnam. I became eligible in 1990, and there's still a lot of World War II veterans that I could think of that ran this organization. Victor Pravasti, Lou Guerrero, Mark Carousel, Estelle and Larry Moore, Frank Babin. You think about these veterans today, and it weighs a little heavy on your heart, to think of it in that perspective. But thank you for bringing that up, because they deserve to be remembered today. And this day, this is why we do this. This is why we carry on this tradition, to preserve the memory of the great men and women who sacrificed their lives in war, and those who came home from war and established a great organization like the American Legion, and continued to serve their community. And we're very, very thankful for that.
We're just a few minutes away from boarding the ferry so we could have the ceremony take place. What should viewers learn about what they're about to see?
Well, we're going to start our ceremony with standard openings, singing the national anthem, bowing our heads in prayer, and welcoming those Legionnaires who are here with us today, and the public to join us in our ceremony. We're going to ride as close as we can to the Statue of Liberty. The captain's going to slow the boat down, and we're going to throw a wreath, have a moment of silence for their memory, and you take away with that that the acts of the veterans of World War II still inspire us today, to be very active in our communities and to do the best we can to promote patriotism, a 100% Americanism. We value the children and youth of our country, and we advocate for those who are still serving today, that Godspeed, they'll come home soon and be back with their families.
Do you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you can share with the people about this anniversary?
Well, I would hope, like I said, we're here today showing our respects, but I would hope the younger people in schools and whatnot are being taught about Pearl Harbor, and maybe next year, God willing, when we come back to the ferry and do our ceremony, we'll have some children from different schools with us so they could share with us this very memorable moment and experience, again, showing respect for those who came before us.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Great to be with you, Jamie. Thank you for coming with us and covering this event for the share with the public.
It's an honor to be here today. Mary, excellent job as always.
Thank you so much, Jamie. It's good to see you again.
Wonderful seeing you. And you have a wonderful Christmas and New Year's.
Yes, a happy and a healthy.
Well, we're just moments now from boarding the ferry, so we're going to get into the boat and we're going to show you the ceremony right now.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the American Legion of Richmond County's annual Pearl Harbor Remembrance Ceremony. It was 78 years ago today that the bombing of Pearl Harbor occurred, and we'd like to now start our ceremony. We're going to start with the salute to the flag. Hand salute. 2. We have Mr. Harold Bregman is going to sing the national anthem.
Please join me. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? God bless America.
And now we have past County Commander, past 2nd District Commander Bill O'Brien with the invocation.
Heavenly Father, we are gathered here to commemorate those among your servants who gave their lives at Pearl Harbor on December the 7th, 1941. Because of their dedication to duty, we still enjoy the freedoms we inherit from our forefathers. Because they served well, we are proud to call them our own. We ask that following their footsteps, we may continue in your service until the summons comes. Then, in the knowledge that we have striven to observe your counsels and precepts, may be worthy to be united with them and with you forever. Amen.
Amen. Cover. We'll now have the greetings of our County Commander, Anthony DiNatale.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this humble ceremony today, marking the 78th anniversary. As we speak on this boat today and we lay the wreath over in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, the last surviving member will be, well, there's 3 survivors. The last surviving member, his ashes will be interred on the Arizona Monument. There's 2 survivors left from the Arizona, and there's 3 left from Utah, the battleship Utah. As we look ahead, in a few years, we'll be the only people who will remember this solemn day, because those World War II veterans will all be gone. So please, as you leave here today, let this legacy, let this date in history never be forgotten. God bless our troops serving today, and God bless America. Thank you.
We're very fortunate to have with us today Joe Yacarino, our World War II veteran, who's joining us. And Joe's going to do us the honor of presenting the memorial wreath to the water off the Statue of Liberty. We'll now proceed outside for that part of the ceremony.
Okay. We're done. Wreath is gone.
Hand salute.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I would like to sing a song that was written by a World War I immigrant veteran who loved this country so much, he wrote one of the finest songs ever. Please join me in God Bless America. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night, the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Thank you. God bless America, and God bless our servicemen who protect us today.
So we're very fortunate to have Joe Yacarino and his family here with us today. So the 78th anniversary of Pearl Harbor already, Joe. Could you imagine the 78th anniversary?
Seems like only yesterday.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah. I was a little guy then, and I got drafted towards the end of the war.
Okay.
And I always say the real heroes are those that didn't return.
I know, right?
And it's great that the Legion does this every year to remind people what this country went through to survive the way we did and turn out the way we did. And we thank God for that.
Absolutely. And thank you, Joe. It's such a great honor to be in your presence every day. You know, we've lost so many World War II veterans over the years. We were talking earlier about...
There's still quite a few of us around. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here, you know.
Yeah, we have our share on Staten Island, too. But you always make it.
I try.
As long as you can, right? God willing. So, all right, thank you. Thank you so much for your service.
My pleasure, Frank. My pleasure. And thank you for your help in putting it all together.
Hey, it's an honor.
I know you've done it a number of years.
Yeah, thank you. So that concludes our ceremony today. I want to thank County Commander Anthony DiNatale for such a fine turnout of the American Legion.
Thank you, Frank, for the great job you do every year with it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'd like to thank the crew of the ferry boat Guy Molinari today for their hospitality and helping us ensure that the event ran smoothly. Thank OS1, our first-class petty officer from the United States Coast Guard, Vanessa Tartavian, who is here with us today. We have Tommy from the Rolling Thunder, who came to show support from his organization, as well as members of the VFW, the Jewish War Veterans, the Disabled American Veterans, all those who decided to come out and show their support today and make this ceremony worth continuing.
And thank you to cable TV. Jamie, thank you for the great job you guys do every year for us.
Thank you, Jamie.
And my dear friend Vanessa, who's from the United States Coast Guard, joins us. It's good to see you again. How are you?
Good, and yourself? Good morning.
Good morning, thank you. I'm well. What does this commemoration day mean to you?
For myself, being a service member, it's the lives and everyone who sacrificed themselves, their families, their lives, for the salvation of us for us to live, for our children to survive, and to be a part of the members of the Legion, the United States, the military, and everyone just to have our freedom.
When you went to school, did they teach you about Pearl Harbor Day?
Yes, when I was younger, much younger, they did teach us about Pearl Harbor Day. And actually, my son wanted to learn about it as well. He wanted to know what we were doing today, being a part of the American Legion. And I sat down with him last night, and I went over the times, the dates of everything that happened.
So we know you're in the Coast Guard. Tell me about all of your time there. What's your rank, and what responsibilities do you have?
Well, my time in the service, I was a reservist, and I was active duty. I'm currently active duty. I work at Vessel Traffic Services, New York, over at Staten Island, and I do communicate with the ferries. And our job is basically our navigation purposes. And for the rank, I am an E6 operations specialist, first class petty officer, and working in the United States Coast Guard.
What made you decide to join the Coast Guard?
When I was younger, I realized that there was more to life than just our four corners of Brooklyn. And I was actually going to join another service, but then the Coast Guard caught my interest, and it's a family-oriented service.
What's it like for you interacting with all of the veterans today?
Absolutely amazing. I enjoy working with the veterans, knowing the veterans. The sacrifices that the veterans have made for us to advance in our lives as families and people in general. They've sacrificed so much, and to be a part of this day is an exceptional heartwarming effect.
And how long have you been with the Coast Guard?
21 years.
If you could tell anyone who is thinking about joining the service, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to do it. All you have to do is take an entrance exam, medical, physical, do it. And sign up, experience life, travel, and you'll have awesome friends and awesome family. And everyone that you meet is starting a new chapter as well. And when you join a service or a legion or any military service, you are going into a family. You have a warm, accepting family. And the people that you meet in basic training, the first day, they are your friends for life. You make friends in every unit. I have friends 20 years boot camp. First day of boot camp, I have friends from there. So it's an amazing experience.
It's great to see you again. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful holiday, and we hope to see you again in the new year.
Thank you, and you do the same as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm Jamie Hickson, here to remind you, do all you can to support your veterans, and also support current personnel like Vanessa, who's doing all they can to defend their country. Thank you for your time.